네, 안녕하세요. 영어 쉐도잉 64일차 영상 시작해 보도록 하겠습니다. 네, 오늘도 어제에 이어서 리처드 파인만 존재 물리학자의 시각에서 바라본 세상이라는 영상을 보고 한 줄씩 듣고 한 줄씩 따라서 말하는 연습을 해보겠습니다. 네, 그러면은 시작하겠습니다.
Even when I was a small boy,
Even when I was a small boy. 자, 자막을 좀 가리고요.
Papa used to sit me on his lap and read to me from the Encyclopedia Britannica.
Papa used to sit me on his lap and read to me from the Encyclopedia Britannica.
And we would read, say, about dinosaurs.
And we will say about dinosaur. And we will say about dinosaur. We will say about dinosaur.
They would say something like,
And they will say something like,
the thing is 25 feet high, and the head is 6 feet across.
and this thing is 25 feet high, and the head is 6 feet across.
And so he'd stop always and say, let's see what that means.
And so you stop me to say, and so you stop me to say, let's see what that means.
That would mean that if his dad stood in our front yard, he would be
That mean that if his dad stood in our front yard,
high enough to put his head through the window. But
he would
not
be high enough to put his head through the window,
quite, because the head is a little bit too wide.
but not quite, because the head is a little bit too wide.
It was very exciting and interesting to think that there were some animals.
And it was very exciting and interesting to think that there were animals
Of
of
such magnitude that they all died out. And at that time, nobody knew why.
and they all died out, and at the time nobody knew why. And it was very exciting and interesting to think that there were animals of such magnitude, and they all died out, and at the time nobody knew why.
So that's the way I was educated by my father.
So that's the way I was educated by my father.
Feynman's scientific style was always to look for the simplest, most elementary solution to a problem that was possible.
Feynman's scientific style was always to look for the simplest, most elementary solution to a problem that was possible.
If it wasn't possible, you had to use something fancier.
If it wasn't possible, you had to use something fancier. You had to use it. If it wasn't possible, you had to use something fancier.
But no doubt part of this was his great joy and pleasure in showing people that he could think more simply than they could.
But no doubt, part of this was his great joy and pleasure in showing people that he could think more simply than they could. He could think more simply than they could.
But he also
deeply
truly believed that if you couldn't explain something simply, you didn't understand it.
Like,
But he deeply believed and truly believed that if you couldn't explain something simply, you didn't understand it. If you couldn't explain something simply, you didn't understand it.
cousin at that time, who was 3 years older, and was having considerable difficulty with algebra.
My cousin at the time, who was 3 years older, was having considerable difficulty with his algebra,
And had a tutor, Ken.
and had a tutor came, and was having considerable difficulty with his algebra.
Considerable difficulty with algebra.
Difficulty with his algebra.
And at that time, who was 3 years older, and was having considerable difficulty with algebra.
with his algebra, with his algebra, and I was having considerable difficulty with his algebra,
And had a tutor, Ken,
and had a tutor, Ken,
was having considerable difficulty with algebra.
with his algebra,
And had a tutor, Ken.
and had a tutor, Ken,
And I was allowed to sit in the corner while the tutor would try to teach my cousin algebra.
and I was allowed to sit in the corner while the tutor would try to teach my cousin algebra, and I was allowed to sit in the corner while the tutor would try to teach my cousin algebra,
And
and
so problems
So
like
problems
2x
like
plus,
2x
I said to
I said to
my cousin that, I said, what could,
so and the problem
so problems like 2x
It's
plus,
like 2x
I said to
I said to
my cousin that, I said, what
I said to my cousin then,
you trying to do?
what you trying to do? What are you trying to do? What are you trying to do? What are you trying to do?
I hear him talk about X. He said, what are you,
He says, I hear him talking about what x is.
2x plus 7 is equal to
You know, 2x plus 7 is equal to
15, he said, and trying to find out what X
he
is.
says, you're trying to find out what x is.
You mean 4?
You mean 4?
He says, yeah.
He says, and you're trying to find out what x is. You mean 4?
But you did it with arithmetic. You have
He says, yeah, but you did it by arithmetic.
to do it by algebra.
You have to do it by algebra.
And that's why my cousin was never able to do algebra.
This my cousin was never able to do algebra
Because he didn't understand
because he didn't understand.
how he was supposed to do it.
Because he didn't understand how he was supposed to do it. How he was supposed to do it. Because he didn't understand how he was supposed to do it.
There was no way.
There's
I
no
learned
way.
algebra, fortunately, by not going to school.
I learned algebra fortunately by not going to school,
By knowing the whole idea was to find out what X was, and it didn't make
and knowing the whole idea was to find out what x was.
any difference how you did it. There's no such a thing as
It didn't make any differences. It didn't make any difference how you did it.
the idea was to find out what X was, and it didn't make any difference how you did it.
And it didn't make any difference. And it didn't make any difference. And it didn't make any difference how you did it. And it didn't make any difference how you did it.
There's no such a thing as
There's no such thing as.
you don't do it
There is no such thing as.
by arithmetic. You do it by algebra.
You do it by arithmetic. You do it by algebra. There is nothing. There is no such thing as. There is no such thing as. You do it by arithmetic. You do it by algebra.
It's a false thing that they had invented.
There's a for statement. There's a for statement
In school,
that they invented in school,
so that the children who have to study algebra can
so
all
that the children who had to study algebra, so that the children who have to study algebra
pass it.
cannot pass it.
They had invented us,
So that the children who have to study algebra cannot pass it.
but by arithmetic you do it by algebra. It's a false thing that they had invented in school. So
There's a for statement that they invent in school. That's the for statement that they invented in school,
that the children who have to study algebra
so
can
that the children who have to study the algebra cannot pass it.
all pass it.
이거를 한 문장으로 해보겠습니다.
It was to find out what X was, and it didn't make any difference how you did it. There's no
Knowing the whole idea was to find out what x was, and it didn't make any difference how you did it.
such a thing as
There was no such thing as.
you don't do it by arithmetic, you do it by algebra.
You do it by arithmetic, you do it by algebra.
It was a false thing that they had invented in school, so that the children who have to study algebra can all pass it.
처음에 기억력이 이렇게 안 좋은 게 그래서 that's a four statement that they invented in school, so that the children who have to study algebra cannot pass it.
They invented a set of rules.
They invented a set of rules. They invented a set of rules,
If you followed them without thinking, could produce the answer. So
which, if you follow them without thinking, could proceed, who proceed, proceed, who proceed, who produce the answer.
subtract 7 from both sides.
Subtract 7 from both sides.
If you have a multiplier,
If
divide
you have a multiplier,
both sides by the multiplier.
by
And so
both sides by multiplier, and so on.
on a series of steps by which you could get the answer if you didn't
A series of steps by which you could get the answer.
understand what you were trying to do. And so on a series of steps by which you could get the answer if you didn't understand what you were trying to do.
If you didn't understand what you're trying to do. A series of steps. A series of steps.
And so on a series of steps by which you could get the answer if you didn't understand what you were trying to do.
A series of steps by which you could get the answer.
And so on a series of steps by which you could get the answer if you didn't understand what you were trying to do.
If you didn't understand what you're trying to do. A series of steps by which you could get the answer. If you didn't understand what you're trying to do.
I have a
I
friend
have a friend
who's an artist.
who's an
and
artist.
sometimes taken a view.
문장을 조금 더 잘.
Invented in school so that the children who have to study algebra can all pass it. They had invented a set of rules which, if you followed them without thinking, could produce the answer. Subtract
They invented a set of rules, which you follow them, which, if you follow them without thinking, could produce the answer. They invented a set of rules, which, if you follow them without thinking, could produce the answer.
7 from both sides. If you have a
Subtract 7 from both sides. If you have a multiplier, divide by both sides.
And so on. A
Divide both sides by multipliers, multiply, and so on.
series of steps by which you could get the answer if you didn't understand what you were trying to do.
A series of steps by which you could get the answer if you didn't understand what you're trying to do.
I have
I have a friend
who's an artist.
who's an
and
artist.
Sometimes taken a view which I don't
He sometimes takes a view which I don't
agree with very well.
I don't agree with very well.
He'll hold up a flower and say, "Look
He
how
hold up the flower and say,
beautiful it is."
look how beautiful this is,
I'll agree, I think.
and I agree. I think
He says, "You see, as I as an artist can see how beautiful it is," and I'll agree, I think. And he says, "You see, as I as an
and he says you see, I as an artist
artist can see how beautiful this is.
can see the beautiful.
But you as a scientist, take this all apart and become."
But you, as scientists, take this ore, take this ore apart and
Dull thing. Beautiful. And so on, a series of steps by which you could get the answer if you didn't understand what you were trying to do. I have a friend who's an artist
I have a friend who's an artist,
and has sometimes taken a view which I don't agree with very well.
and he's sometimes taken a view which I don't agree with very well. And he sometimes taken a view which I don't agree with very well.
He'll hold up a flower and say, "Look
We hold up the flower and say,
how beautiful it is."
look how beautiful it is. And he hold up the flower and say, look how beautiful it is.
Agree with very well. He'll hold up a flower and say, "Look how beautiful it is."
And he hold up the flower and says, look how beautiful it is.
I'll agree, I think. And he says,
And I agree, I think. And he says,
"See, as I as an artist can see how beautiful it is." And I'll agree, I think. And he says, "You see, as I as an artist can see."
and he says, you see I as, and he says, you see I as an artist, I as an artist, and he says, you see I as an artist,
Look look how beautiful it is. And I'll agree, I think. And he says, you see, as I as an artist,
And he says, and he says, and he says, and he says, you see as an, and he says, you see I as an artist, and he says, you see I as an artist, and he says, you see as a, you see I as an artist, you see I as an artist, and he says, you see I as an artist,
say, look how beautiful it is. And I'll agree, I think. And he says, you see, as I as an
and he says, and he says, you see I as an artist,
artist can see how beautiful this is. And I'll agree, I think. And he says, you see, as I as an artist can see how beautiful this is. But
you see I as an artist can see how beautiful this is.
and I'll agree, I think. And he says, you see, as I as an artist can see how beautiful this is.
How beautiful this is, how beautiful this is, how beautiful this is, how beautiful this is. And it says, you see, I as an artist can see how beautiful this is.
You as a scientist, take this all apart and it becomes a dull thing.
And you as an artist, and you as a scientist, take this all apart and it becomes dull thing. All apart and take this all apart and it becomes that thing. Take this all apart and it becomes dull things. And you as a scientist, and you as a scientist, take this all apart and it becomes dull thing.
This is, but you as a scientist, take.
But you as a scientist, but you as a scientist.
And he says, you see, as I as an artist can see how beautiful this is. But you as a scientist, take this all apart and.
But you as a scientist, take this all apart and take this all apart and
It becomes a dull thing. Beautiful this is. But you as a scientist, take this all apart and it becomes a dull thing.
apart and
This is. But you as a scientist, take this all apart and it becomes a dull thing.
apart and it becomes that thing. But you as a scientist, but you as a scientist,
This is. But you as a scientist,
but you as a scientist, take this all apart and it becomes third thing, becomes a third thing,
take this all apart and it becomes a dull thing. And I think that he's kind of nutty.
And I think he's kind of nutty.
Apart and it becomes a dull thing. And I think that he's kind of nutty.
And I think that he's kind of nutty.
Apart and it becomes a dull thing. And I think that he's kind of nutty.
I think that
This all apart and it becomes a dull thing. And I think that he's kind of nutty.
and I think that he's kind of nutty.
Apart and it becomes a dull thing. And I think that he's kind of nutty.
And I think that he's kind of nutty.
First of all, the beauty that he sees is available to other people and to me too.
First of all, the beauty that he sees is available to other people and to me too.
I believe, although I may not be quite as refined as aesthetically as he is,
I believe, although I may not be quite as refined as aesthetically he is,
that I can appreciate the beauty of
but I can appreciate the beauty
a flower.
of a flower.
At the same time, me too, I believe, although I may not be quite as refined as aesthetically as he is,
Aesthetically as he is, aesthetically is his, all the way.
too, I believe, although I may not be quite as refined as aesthetically as he is,
As refined as
that I can appreciate, although I may not be quite as refined as aesthetically as he is,
aesthetically he is, although I may not be quite as refined as aesthetically he is,
that I can appreciate the beauty of the flower.
but I can appreciate the beauty of the flower.
At the same time,
At the same
I see
time,
much
I
more about the flower
I see the much more about the flower. I see much more of the flower
than he sees.
than he sees.
I could imagine the cells in there, the complicated
I could imagine the cells in there.
actions inside, which also have a beauty.
Okay.
I could imagine the cells in there,
I could imagine the cells in there. I could imagine the cells in there.
the time.
At
I
the
see
same-
much more about the flower than he sees.
I see much more about the. I see much more about the. I see much more about the flower.
I could imagine the cells in there,
I
the
could imagine the cells in there.
complicated actions inside, which also have a beauty.
Complicated actions, which also have a beauty. Which also have a beauty. The complicated.
I could imagine the cells in there, the complicated actions inside, which also have a beauty.
The complicated actions inside. The complicated actions inside. The complicated actions inside. The complicated actions inside. The complicated actions inside.
Beauty. I mean, it's not just beauty at this dimension of
I mean, it's not just the beauty at this dimensions.
1 centimeter. There's also a beauty. I mean, it's not just beauty at this dimension of 1 centimeter. They also have a beauty. I mean, it's not just beauty at this dimension of 1 centimeter, which also have a beauty.
Beauty. I mean, it's not just beauty at this dimensions of 1 centimeter.
I mean, it's not just beauty at this dimension of 1 centimeter. There's also beauty at a smaller dimensions.
There's also beauty in the small dimensions. There's also beauty at the smaller dimensions.
The inner structure.
The inner structure.
Also the processes.
Also the processes.
The fact that
The
colors and the flower evolved in order to attract insects to pollinate it is interesting. It means
the color in the flower evolved in order to attract the insects to pollinate it.
that insects can see the color.
자, 여기까지 한번 더 좀 부드럽게 해보겠습니다.
7 from both sides. If you have a multiplier, divide both sides by the multiplier, and so
If you have multiplier, divide both sides by multiplier.
a series of steps by
Series
which you could get
of
the
steps
answer
which
if
you
you
could
didn't
get the
understand what
answer.
you were trying to do.
Series of steps which you could get the answer. If you didn't understand what you're trying to do,
I have a
I
friend
have a friend
who's an artist.
who's an
and
artist.
sometimes taken a view which I don't
he's sometimes taken a view which I don't agree with very well.
agree with very well. You hold up a flower
He hold
and
a
say,
flower and say,
look how beautiful
look how
it is.
beautiful it is.
I'll agree, I
And I
think.
agree, I
And he
think.
says, you see, as I as an artist can see how beautiful this is, but you as a scientist, take this all apart and it becomes a dull thing. And I think that he's kind of nutty.
And I think that he kinds of nutty.
First of all, the beauty that he sees is available to other people and to me too.
the beauty that he sees is available to other people and to me too.
I believe,
And
although I may not be quite as
refined
refined as aesthetically as
he is,
but I can appreciate the
but I
beauty
can appreciate the beauty of the
of the
flower.
flower. At the same time, I see
time,
much more about the flower than
I see much more about the flower than he sees.
I could
I
imagine the
couldn't,
cells in
I
there.
could imagine the cells in there,
Complicated actions inside, which also have a beauty.
the complicated actions inside, which have also beauty.
He sees. I could imagine the cells in there, the complicated actions inside, which also have a beauty.
Which also have a beauty.
I mean, it's not just beauty at this dimension of 1 centimeter. There's also
I mean, it's not just the beauty at the dimension of 1 centimeter.
beauty at a smaller dimensions. The inner structure, also the processes.
Also the process.
The fact that
The fact that
the colors and the flower evolved
the colors in the flower evolved
in order to attract insects
in
to
order to
pollinate.
attract the insects to pollinate it.
is interesting.
Is
It means
interesting.
that
It
insects
means
can
that-
see the color.
It means that insects can see the color.
It adds a question.
It adds
Does this
questions.
aesthetic sense also exist in a
Is the aesthetic sense? Is this aesthetic sense?
see the color? It adds a question. Does this aesthetic sense also exist in the lower form?
Is this aesthetic sense can also? Is this aesthetic sense can also exist in the lower forms?
Forms that have
Does this aesthetic sense also exist in the lower forms? Does this aesthetic sense also exist in the lower forms?
does it? Why is it aesthetic? All
Why is it aesthetic? Why is it aesthetic? All kinds
of interesting questions, which the science knowledge
all kind of interesting questions, which show science,
only adds to the excitement and mystery
only adds to the excitement and mystery and
of a flower. It
awe
only
of a
adds. I
flower.
don't understand how
It
it
only adds. I don't understand
subtracts.
how it subtract. I don't understand how it subtract. 네, 여기까지 정도 하면 되겠고요. 시간이